I told this to a client and he was like, okay, how do you charge that?
That
How
you
do
can't.
how do I charge what? He's like, how do you charge thinking about my product while you're showering?
Well, that's a very good point.
I'm like,
That's
wow.
a
Good
I opened
question.
up a Pandora's box, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, just the official part to start in English, I guess.
Yeah, I
Welcome.
guess. Thank you. Thank you, Ivana. How are you?
I have to give you like I have to give my audience a small intro about you. Like you are a really interesting type of designer. Like I'm going to flatter you right now. So you have like more than 20 years of experience in graphic design, UI design. I don't even know, art direction, illustration, uh, a bunch of different branches of design. And your experience is super interesting. And you worked for a really interesting company here on the Balkans, among other, I don't know, agencies. So I am super excited to hear just a tiny little bit of your experience in, I don't know, an hour. We are going to talk about it, like what can fit in an hour. So I'm happy that you are talking to me on this podcast. So welcome once again.
Thank, thank you, Ivana. Thanks for having me over. It's a pleasure. Anytime.
Yeah. I would say definitely you are a multidisciplinary designer, right?
Yeah, that's what I, how do we say it? Specialize in by
Oh,
not
yeah.
specializing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say is, what is it? Like, what's multidisciplinary? Whoa, look at that. Like, it's a big word. What does it mean? Like, who is that person?
Yeah. It's a good question. Um,
Difficult one, I guess.
yeah, it is. I think it's generally somebody that's comfortable to jump out of his comfort zone. First of all,
Oh, yeah.
I'm traditionally trained as a graphic designer. Got a degree in graphic design, so it's always been about layout and type and color and tone and so on. But how do you say? When you get into the design industry, you find yourself, you're not going to do only that. Very
Yeah.
rarely, in big, in how do you say? In bigger markets, you can specialize and be, I'm just a logo type designer. I just do logos. Good luck to it's great, but even with my experiences, you should technically learn as much as you can.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's, to answer your question, it's somebody that is, first of all, not afraid to look into other avenues of design and push yourself.
Mm.
How does the brand work on things that are not 2D? How does it work in 3D? How does it work in experience? How does it work on an app? How does it work in 3D space? Other touch points, other subtleties. So
Mm-hmm.
it's somebody, I think, that is opened his horizons and is willing to explore other avenues of design in general to take your work and your message across on different media. So that's a multidisciplinary designer, in a
Yeah. So
nutshell.
that's an answer from an art director, I have to say. Like yeah, for real. Like you have the, I don't know, space to think about like, how is my logo that I'm creating gonna work in different mediums? And let me
Yeah,
try and make it.
exactly. And brand is, I keep saying, branding or design, it's not just a logo. It's other assets. It's other pieces of the puzzle
Oh,
that
yeah.
need to work in unison. And that's key. If you can see past your speciality and try and push yourself across all those bounds, then
Oh, yeah.
then you become multidisciplinary. You got to see it across all those zones.
Oh, yeah. Recently, I was talking to some friends that are designers as well on Instagram, and they were basically complaining how agencies most of the time want you to do, well, I don't know, work for people. Like it's not just one designer. You are an illustrator. You are all of these things, and how sometimes that can be a bad thing. Maybe from your experience, it's not a bad thing. What did it like gave you being a multidisciplinary designer?
Well, I think it's, first of all, you're opened up to a lot more like collaboration. You're working with different people from other specialized fields like product design, interior design, and and so on. And it just, I think it elevates your product onto another level because you have a better understanding of their world. You shouldn't work isolated. You shouldn't work, well, this is the job I'm handing over. I don't care what happens to it afterwards. It becomes somebody else's problem. 9 out of 10 times, it doesn't turn out good. So you need to know. You need to know what happens after things leave your desk. Okay, leave your workspace. So, yeah.
Nice. So, okay, I will jump into your experience now, so we can share with everyone what you've been up to these 20 years. So you worked with big brands, right? Could you give me some insights, like what it's like working with big brands, like, I don't know, Puma? Who else did you work with? If you can say, of course.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff is for agencies, so not personal, not a direct contact, but yeah, biggest world brands from, fashion, pharma, FMCG, tech, automotive. I don't know one industry that I haven't worked for, quite honestly. What do I take from that? Well, first of all, the multidisciplinary does help because, they all have their own different heritage and their all different needs. And you have to be able to, how do you say, plug into their world, plug into their requirements. And because they're all different, they all have their different niche, like requirements, different outputs, different style. Your art direction needs to change constantly. Because they have different goals, and the audience is completely different. So if you're not a type designer, if you're not a specific archetype designer, that helps. And I'm not a specific archetype designer. I don't churn out the same type of design. I try. It's very hard. I think it's always a challenge, but that helps. So yeah, in short, how it is working with him. Yeah, it's challenging. It's challenging. Each big client has its own challenging set of rules, and you have to adapt. You have to be adaptable. You have to be like a mold.
Yeah. Nice. So, and what are some of the challenges that you faced, like at the top of your head, that you can remember right now in your career that were like, difficult to go around?
Yeah. Changing minds of clients, as is the case with everybody. It's when he's wrong and you're right, but you can't tell him he's wrong.
Oh yeah, the old tale of should I just do what they tell me? Should I help them actually?
Yeah, exactly. You put it very well there. Should you help them, or is that going to cause more problems for you down the line?
How do you deal with that?
Each to his own. It depends.
Yeah.
It depends. Somewhere you can if you're in good rapport with the client, you can definitely push. But sometimes listen, this guy's not going to budge, or she's not going to budge, so we better do what he or she says. So yeah, I think dealing with design and work in general is dealing with people. And people are challenging sometimes. People are emotional beings.
Oh yeah.
They'll come with a problem, and they're very, very emotionally attached to what they've got, and that what they've got is bad, but you can't say it's bad. You got to be very careful. You say, yeah, I think we can improve it. Here it's nice what you've got, but I think we should, and that, that's the challenging part. Each to his own, And it's surprising. Sometimes the bigger clients are actually not as hard as people think. It's sometimes the smaller clients. Or from the smaller industries. Sometimes the giants are actually okay. they're like, oh, sure, cool, that's cool, that's great, go with it.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
yeah, it is. I found it sometimes the smaller guys are way more difficult to work with than the big corporates. So
Oh, why is that? Do you know?
like I said, it's person to person.
Mm.
It always depends on who you're dealing with on the other side. I mean, a corporation is, it's still people at the end of the day.
Of
It's your
course.
it's your contact, it's your client. So if they're gonna make it difficult for you, they're gonna make it difficult for you. There's no two ways about it. You have to adapt. So it's challenging. The smaller guys can be as challenging as the big guys.
Mm.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, tell me a bit about your international experience. Like you had a bunch. I mean, we've mentioned big and small companies, but have you traveled somewhere for work? And what was that like?
That's an understatement. Yeah, my whole life has been traveling. I've been a Rolling Stone. Yeah, I think a majority of people that have worked, globally will tell you, you go where the work is. And I think that's like a norm nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's jumping around where work is available. It's almost inevitable. So yeah, I mean, I was born in Rijeka in Croatia, lived in Serbia, emigrated to South Africa, lived there a whole bunch, studied there, had a good portion of my professional career there, went to London, went back to all over the place. So it brings a whole slew of challenges, but you end up working on, some clients and some projects that you would never be able to work with if you were married to one place geographically.
Mm-hmm.
So that opens up your how do you say, design horizons, because you're working with
Definitely
different cultures, different people, different challenges, completely different set of clients, different rule sets, different ways of doing business, different ways of exchanging design ideas.
Interesting. Yeah. I know I've always worked with Americans mostly, or Europeans. I always wanted to work with Africa because I'm like, that's a completely different market. Like the way they communicate visually and like in person and everything, so different than for what I know, so far. I don't know. What was that like?
I mean, to me, it's like I said, that was my first taste of the professional career. To me, it's like, that's the way it is. I would say that, I mean, when you say Africa, that's a really large canvas you're painting there.
True.
So, I mean, even I'm sure if you said the States as well, obviously it will vary. So Africa being probably the most advanced economy in Africa, they're more aligned with the British or American mindset in terms of business and design. So, for me it was same as everywhere else. And granted, they've been doing it for a lot longer than I think some agencies in the Balkan territories. Branding and so on. So they've got a longer pedigree.
I've
had the luck of working at the biggest branding agency in the world there. One of the biggest office was in Johannesburg, South Africa, which is like you would never say, but it was. That was, we had, I think, at a peak, it's changed its name a million times, but today it's known as Brand Union. It was like 120 people plus. Those agencies don't exist anymore today. You know? So, but we were working with European companies and American companies and all over, and Asian companies all over the world back in the heyday of when design was the thing. 2001 to about 2007, around there,
Interesting. So you come basically you come from a big corporate, let's say corporate design agencies, and now you're working as technically a freelancer, right? You have your own company. Is that freelancing? I don't know anymore. Like people, how do you define yourself? Like everybody is saying it differently these days.
Yeah, I've got my own company. I'm not a freelancer.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, but yeah, I've decided, I want to offer my services to, you know, more than one industry, more than one client. I enjoy working, like, you've asked me, I'm a multi-discipline designer. So, being that at the core, I wanted to offer my, talents or knowledge or whatever, design know-how to different industries. It excites me. I don't want to work with only one type of industry. I would like to share, an insight to different industries. That excites me.
Yeah.
So right now I have, I've been working with completely different industries that require different skill sets, different type of communication.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. Yeah, I'm on the same boat there. It's
Good.
interesting to adapt. Although for me, it would be interesting to do just one project for, I don't know, a few years to see.
True.
It's
just
like.
To be like, so you don't ping pong. It is difficult from one, sure, this week I'm doing this, and hell, the week after I have to forget what I've been doing here and, adapt my design style. That is hard.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a skill as well. You'll learn.
I think so. Yeah,
you can learn those things.
You'll learn.
Okay. So tell me a bit about Rimac, please. Like that's a huge company here, and people know about it, but for whatever reason, not a lot of the design or designers from the company ever was a guest anywhere. So I'm super happy to hear about it. Tell me all you can, please. How does it work? What was it like to be there, to work there? And what did you do, most importantly, at Rematch?
Yeah, I mean, I do find it puzzling that no one really, some media, I think from Germany came, and from some other places came, and what is going on? What are they doing? Who is the team? Yeah, I mean, how do we say it was a really enlightening experience. I actually really enjoyed working there. I was brought in as a graphic designer, so I was the head of graphic design there for 3 years. Having to establish the brand, working on the corporate identity, evolving it, putting a structure in, building a team, and so on. But you know how it is in startups. You do everything.
Oh yeah.
So you end up doing things that you're like, okay, hang on, people, why am I doing this? But you tend to adapt. And you say, listen, nobody else can do it or has the insight to do it, and you're left with it. You got to solve it. So I ended up doing a lot more than corporate identity work and branding. In fact, a lot of my time was spent doing other things. Managing and art directing product design, user interface design, and for the Nevera, presence design, a lot of things. So they're also multidisciplinary in their own right. They don't have the design team there is not large for the automotive world. It's rather small. Okay, I think they're first and foremost an engineering company. So the design team doesn't have these like unlimited budgets and unlimited time. So you're very scarce in the window of opportunity where you have to, come up with a solution. So you have to be really, really creative. And, that's something that they applauded there is first of all, creativity, which is I think is the key, or at least for me, and that's why I found it would be like a highly fruitful time. Yeah, you get other frustrations, but with every job, it's how it is. It's never perfect.
Yeah.
But it's definitely an enthralling time, working there with the design team, some really good colleagues that I've had the pleasure of working with.
It's interesting what you said, like, and I have an idea basically off of that. Startups force you to be multidisciplinary.
Yeah.
If you are the only designer in a startup, you don't have a choice. And if they don't have the funds or the time or whatever to
resources in general, exactly that. It's like, well,
yes,
we're doing the interiors or the signage or wayfinding or something. Here you have to do it.
You have to do
It's
it.
I mean, you don't have to, but you know, you should do it. If you know, you sign a contract, you're working there, you make a plan,
Yeah.
you know,
And somehow that can be lovely. Like if you, of course, if
yeah,
you
it
like
can
it.
be,
Yeah.
exactly, because you know, there's no like, you know, working with the bigger brands is like, you know, everything is a process. Checkpoint, 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 sign off, you know, leave it to, you know, to somebody to sign off something. There it's like there's technically almost no rules. You gotta deliver something.
Yeah.
And that's it's a different mindset. You're not like, well, you know, there's a milestone here and then everybody's, no, it's like, dude, we need to do it. Here's a time frame, go ahead. And there's some bonuses there because you don't have that, like, the weight of you know, a huge brand equity somewhere along the line,
Oh yeah.
or brand heritage, or you know, we're only used to seeing this and this and this, and you're out of bounds and you need to pull back. No, it's like, yeah, let's sort it out, let's make it cool.
Yeah. But you are the
I
one
mean,
creating rules.
that's what they're doing in the automotive industry. I mean, you know, it's like, here we are, we're making a hypercar, you know, who are they again, where are they coming from, you know, the big, so
Oh
it's how
yeah.
it is when you're creating things from scratch. You tend to have more freedom. It's how it is.
Oh, nice. More freedom, but I guess that's harder to do. Like you have to think about so many things all at once. And I just have to say, like, I'm super sorry that we cannot show the corporate identity for Rimac. You showed it to me. Jesus. I'm like, you should show this to everyone so we know how it's done, really. It's so in details. I love
Yeah.
that.
Now I will.
So
Yeah. Well, I'm about to post it on Behance. It'll come up soon.
perfect.
So
Perfect.
I will publish it. Don't worry. Yeah.
Please
So
do it if
yeah,
you
it's
can. It's so
yeah,
good. Yep.
yeah, I will. It was quite challenging from a time frame point of view, as is always is, but we wanted to really, you know, uh, nail the nail on the head. So we had the one shot, we had a short time frame,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was.
Tell me a bit
Thanks.
more about like who the audience is for a hypercar. Like Rimac makes high performance hypercars that are electric. They look crazy fast. They probably are crazy fast. And who buys that? Who is your main audience? Like, how do you make things for those people?
Good question. I don't know. Ask the sales team. I think, yeah, generally people who want exclusivity, you know,
Yeah.
complete exclusivity, I guess. I mean, there's 150 of them. The 150 are going to the Pininfarina. So, you know, um, yeah, I think it's people who collect, you know, hypercars slash
Yeah.
supercars. It's an exclusivity. It's a luxury item, you
Yeah.
know. So it's not a brain buy. It's a heart buy. I think in the case of Nevera, it's trying to stand out from, you know, the norm. So they wanted to detach themselves from, it's a hypercar, you know, Italian slash German, or, you know, it's got the, you know, creation element in there with some, you know, creation design signatures, and the fact that it's a tech focused product. So it's like a
Yeah.
luxury tech item. And I think that's, you know, that's the niche that they're carving.
Yeah.
So it's obviously people who are responding to that new niche, or want to have, you know, I don't want a Porsche. I don't want to, you know, what else do I want? So, and they're obviously breaking, you know, barriers in terms of performance. So yeah, it's people who want, you know, that kind of product with that kind of taste.
Yeah.
I think is the answer. I mean, this is a small portion of people on this planet, but
Yeah. But lovely.
highly special.
I mean, good for them. That's all I can
Yeah.
say. Like, really, those cars look amazing. I don't know if we have the roads for them though. I don't know where Rimac tests their cars. I hope not on like roads in Croatia and Serbia. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're testing them on test tracks. They've got, you know,
Yeah, of course they do.
yeah, they've got one in Zaga, they've got in Nardo. They test them all over the place, and I
Yeah.
think most of these markets are, you know, in the Arab states or in the States, you know, roads are a lot more forgiving than our B-class roads, which are like narrower and so on. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, but each to their own. I mean,
Tell me.
I think it's a collectionable item. It's like, yeah, it's sitting in the garage, you know. There it is. There, it's my little pride and joy. I'm sure it's more about that than.
Oh, that sounds like a shame. Like it's a hypercar that can almost fly. It's a
Yeah,
shame,
well, I
but
think it
it
just beats a plane. So yeah, a couple of
exactly.
weeks ago, I was racing a plane. So yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Like that's insane if you ask me. But tell me, how was it creating interface for a car like that? Like you created basically the dashboard, the graphics there, everything, the look on it. How was that experience? Did you have like some pain points there that you couldn't cross and you had to change your design?
All the time, you know, working with the UI team. Uh, I conceptualized the concepts. It was quite out there. We always have to, you know, pull back a lot
Mm-hmm.
in production and with our limited resources, I guess. But you know, the focus was on storytelling. You know, how do you tell that mechanical, technical, high tech, first of all, look and feel in the user interface? It had to tell a story. We're not doing Google 2.0. You know, you're not doing
Mm.
Android. There's no point in going down that route, or at least in my opinion. Uh, this is an exclusivity product, so you have to shift your, you know, you have more design input and more design freedom in products like this. So the challenges were endless. You know, how do you craft something that, you know, everybody's used to, but you want to incorporate the ingredients of the Rematch, corporate identity and design flair and design signature throughout all the screens and throughout the whole, you know, even user experience. You know, how do you draw certain things? Um, I designed a lot of custom typefaces to, you know, communicate that within the car. You know, we went a step further, you know, in
Mm-hmm.
that regard to bring in. So it was a challenge marrying all the kind of like, you know, I'm used to my phone, I'm used to where everything sits, but we wanted to offset that a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and have a specific, you know, digital tech signature throughout. You know, having all modes painted a different color, as you know, you've seen some of the stuff. So yeah,
Can
it
you
was.
can you touch those screens? I mean, I guess there are things that you can do on the screens with your hands, like you can on your phone, right?
Yeah.
In the
I'm
car.
classic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just imagining a person driving like God knows how fast. I
Yeah,
don't
but
even know the
he
number.
wouldn't be.
How do you
Yeah, I
design
mean,
something for someone who's driving that fast and he's supposed to like click some like wow.
he wouldn't be clicking it, first of all. But yeah, I mean, you know, that was a challenge, getting the finesse in, getting the visual language through, but for it to be legible enough for everyday use. I guess
Exactly.
I think there was a challenge for myself and the whole team when we had to falter the concept all the way down to the nitty gritty and the screens that had to be, you know, very very basic,
Mm-hmm.
so that the user is not lost, but having that magic touch. So yeah, it's one word: trade-off. Everything's a trade-off. You know, I would like to push things, you know, crazy, but then on the UX guys are saying, well, you know, that's not good mapping, user experience there is not good. So you have to think of both worlds, which is hard,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, because the designer always wants to push boundaries, but the UX is always bringing you back. You know, this look is in the placement of certain buttons, and just the mapping is not quite, you know, right there, not going to be intuitive enough. So you have to think of intuitivity the whole time. You know,
Yeah.
it's a balancing act, as is with everything. You know, in the
Yeah.
concept, you go crazy. You say, damn, man, this is going to look insane if we incorporate this. But then, you know, the regularities and the standard setting always brings you back. So
Oh yeah. I mean, I would be scared to do some crazy design. Like, is somebody gonna die because of my design?
no, it's not that bad. No,
It's
no,
not that bad.
no,
Okay. I don't know. It's a
no.
really, really fast car. So I guess at some point you are thinking about that. Like, is this user experience going to help you have a nicer ride, or is it gonna do damage? You know?
Nah, yeah, nah, yeah. You think about this. I mean, we're not, I never do, and I think, designers shouldn't do design for design's sakes. We
Yeah.
know where to push boundaries. We know where to push limits. We
Yeah.
all do it within reason. So we tend to kind of push things. Experience tells you this, like, don't do ridiculous stuff because it's never going to work. It's never going to be, applied in that product, in that niche.
Yeah.
So yeah, you take care of those things. You do it in doses. You do it carefully. You do it strategically.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Tell me a bit more, like, what was another interesting experience you had in your long years of designing? What's it like to be a designer for 20 years? How come you never gave up?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. I think every designer will tell you it's the same problems. It's the same challenges. I always bring it back to my first answer. It's dealing with people. You need to be good in dealing with people. Like I said, you need sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of the times, you need to swallow your pride. Your ego needs to be, in check. You're not designing for yourself. You need to first and foremost, I think, understand that as a designer, you're designing for a product, for a product owner, for a company that utilizes your services. So you need to adapt. And it took me a long time to I think all designers are hard in that way because it's their pride and soul that's going into the work, But you need to kind of like really take that to heart, where you're not designing for yourself. You're not a fine artist. You are a designer first and foremost. You're commercial. You have commercial value. So you have to move in those bounds. So trade-off. It's like, how do we reach something that you want to achieve with your design, but with limitations? And in fact, I found that the more limitations you have, sometimes you become more creative. Having a blanket canvas
can be confusing.
No, it can be very frustrating because you'll never end. So with tighter deadlines, which is always the case, they're getting tighter and tighter with every year, and your place where you can play is sometimes, how do we say, really restrictive. You come up with some really cool ideas in that restrictive environment.
Yep.
So my advice is keep slogging, keep working at it. Be passionate. I have no idea what I would be if I'm not a designer. Quite frankly, I'll probably go into like chefs.
That's still a creative job. I think that's still a creative.
Yeah,
being a chef.
Yeah, you can migrate your principles and your attention to detail and so on. But yeah, 20 years. Can't believe it's been so long.
I'm sorry. I keep reminding you. I'm really like, this is bad.
Yeah, this is bad. Yeah, it's bad and good. Yeah, but it's been challenging and yeah.
I think it's the way you look at it. Like, if you look at design as a job, essentially, or work, or you do it as a lifestyle. So those are different things. I think you can do them both. But if a client is paying you to do something, that's not a lifestyle in a way, that's work. So it depends.
True.
And then you can come into, like, you can jump into traps there, and your like work and life balance can be
totally
in a bad situation. Have you ever like had those moments when you are like, okay, wait, what am I doing? Like, should I pay attention more? Am I working too much? Stuff like that.
Very much so.
Yeah.
My colleagues are saying, it's like, dude, it's Friday. What are you doing? It's the weekend. What are you doing? Like,
what are you working?
but like I said, I think it's from individual to individual.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can strike it perfect. They're like, it's 5 o'clock, brain off.
Yeah.
I don't think about my work. I can't do that. I mean, if I had to quote my clients per hour or per, it'll be a 24-hour day. I think of ideas in the shower, in the toilet, walking around. I'm, going to the store, buying. I'm constantly thinking about this stuff. So it's, quite frankly, is it a good or a bad thing? I don't know yet.
It
It's
is what
caused me
it
a lot
is.
of stress, but it is what it is. But it's in my DNA. I mean, I think through designer's eyes all the time.
Yeah, it happened to me once. I told this to a client, and he was like, "Okay, how do you charge that? How do I charge what?" He's like, "How do you charge thinking about my product while you're showering?"
Well, that's a very good point.
I'm like, wow.
I opened up a Pandora's box, eh? Yeah, exactly. I tend to stay away from hourly rates because I tell people, well, then you just won't be able to afford it, or we will not be able to agree. It's pointless going down that route because exactly that what you said. I think about solutions 24 hours a day. Sometimes I wake up 6 in the morning and I write things down. This will be great because this will work. It's like, dude, what are you doing? But that's how it is.
Yeah.
Person to person.
Definitely.
Strike the life work balance. Yeah, I'm yet to win that battle yet. I don't know.
Yeah.
I tend to be overworked primarily because I push myself a lot, for better or for worse. But yeah, it's I think every designer struggles with that really at heart. They're like, I'm burnt out. Or should I be thinking about this all the time? Nobody else does it, or this guy does it even more. It's always like pushing yourself, and then you enter that like, hustle culture. It's like I can do more and I can do better, and then I can, but I think, the older you get, time is more precious.
I think we'll need a rehab from hustle culture soon, like a rehab center to unlearn that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
for
just
sure.
stop it.
I mean, it works to you with, to a point. When you're younger and you got energy to burn, in your 20s, late 20s, even early 30s, hey, fine, go for it, But there comes a point when you do get older, like myself, where you're like, okay, I've had a bit of enough about this, and I've been doing it for longer. You have a family, you can't be dedicated to your work literally 24 hours. Your family suffers, your friends suffer,
you suffer,
you suffer, what do you do? So you need to, I think people need to learn how to say stop or no. I'm still battling with that.
Me too.
Yeah,
definitely.
We can do it.
Definitely.
We can
look at this. Look at this project. It looks so fun. Should I do it? Yeah. And then 4 projects later.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's set. I think every designer struggles with that at some point.
I'm gonna bring it to the end and ask you 5 questions that I ask everyone, and they're kind of silly questions. So it's just a question and answer type of thing, like quick. Do you have some role models? And if you do, who are they?
Yeah, I mean, I will obviously point to designers. It's a no-brainer. It is a bit of a cliche, but Massimo Vignelli and
that's a nice one.
Yeah, I mean, he said. I mean, a lot of designers don't agree with this quote. A lot of it's polarizing. If you can design one thing, you should design everything.
Yeah.
That's something that's literally sitting on my front page, and that's my motto. And that's challenging. People say, yeah, you should, what does it mean? And no, you don't have to. Sure, you don't. But if you're gonna go down that route, then you're going down that route wholeheartedly.
True.
And you asked me right in the front, who is a multidisciplinary designer? Well, Massimo Vignelli is one of them. I mean, and the other role model will probably be Dieter Rams. I mean, I mean, he started everything. I mean, sure, we look at Apple today, but we all know that, it's, that a lot of inspiration came from from his way of designing things, where he took in UX into consideration in his product design. I mean, he pioneered product design in a way today. So
yeah, that didn't exist at that time at all.
Yeah, it didn't really exist.
Concept.
I mean, yeah. That's, those are your kind of like world's, originators of, of design disciplines, and they were like high in their fields. So
yeah,
that would be the two.
Do you consider design your calling or your job?
I think we've answered this.
In a way,
a calling. Yeah, I have no idea what I would be doing if I'm not a designer. A lot of people agree, kind of like, yeah, man, you're a designer,
hardcore
designer. Stop thinking about it in that way. You're irritating. Yeah, I can be overwhelming sometimes, even to myself. I get on my own nerves. It's a calling in a way. But like you said, you need to. The older you get, the more you realize, everything is, not everything is not in design. I would like to change everything and redesign everything, but you need to be grounded a little bit,
Oh yeah.
So you'll get that with age. You're kind of like, well, you need to let go of certain things. Otherwise, you'll drive yourself crazy. And then nothing will be enough. Nothing will be enough. Nothing will be good enough. Which tends to be the case with designers. That's our blessing in a way, and a curse.
Oh yeah. Perfectionism. Do you have a hobby, and what is it?
Photography is one of my hobbies. Unfortunately, today with the workload, I get to do less and less of it. I shoot a lot of wildlife work when I was in Africa. Once you get, once you go on a game drive, seeing wild animals, 50% of people will say, it's okay, I'd rather sit by the pool. And then the other 50% will get awestruck by it completely. And I fell in love with it, seeing wild animals in their proper habitat. Something really, enriches your soul. It's incredible. And documenting them in their world is something that's so fulfilling. There's some incredible wildlife photographers out there that are doing some insane work. I do my own fair share just as a passion. And two is gaming. I'm a gamer at heart. I've been gaming since I was like 11.
Nice.
So yeah, my wife doesn't like it so much, but it's like, are you gaming again? So yeah, design stop, gaming enters. The console gets fired up, and then I game.
I think that's very much connected.
Yeah, well, depends. It tends to be connected. I've learned a lot of my trade when I was doing some computer games back in the day when I was still studying. We were doing some computer game projects, and I learned a lot of my trade back there. Exposed to 3D worlds and programs and so on. That's why I got my interest. My generation, we didn't have computers from start to go. We only had it a little bit later. So for me, this blew my mind, and I immediately, obviously, as an 11-year-old, 12-year-old, like, computers, damn, and I just fell in love. So wasting hours on a game is not a problem.
Do you have any books to recommend?
I'm not much of a book person, I'll admit that, but I think one book I can recommend for design is Smile in the Mind. You should really check that out. That's really cool. And Type Matters. Also quite a nice book. That's just illustrative, example of how important typography is, and some nice inspiration there. Yeah.
And what's your favorite color?
Isn't it obvious?
Oh, okay.
It's black. I know it's a cliche, but my wardrobe is literally black and a couple of colors, and then it's black again.
That's so designer-like.
Yeah, it's architecture and design. I don't know. I've always liked black. If I could have everything in black, I would.
I think there are two teams of designers, like those who wear colors, like myself, and those who wear black. That's it.
Yeah, it's monochromatic type and the colorful type. I see you you beautifully paired your headphones with your, oh
Yeah,
man,
see?
that's,
Yeah.
it's at least but black chair. Come on.
Yeah. You have to have some balance. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for everything. Thank you for talking for Dizajn Priča. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me anytime. It was lovely talking to you.